You're on.
Okay, I live in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I say that because it's the setting for, I think, most of my poems, if not, yeah, all but one. So if you hear strange words or references to strange fruits, that's why. We've been suffering a drought for about 6 months, and it just ended with hurricane season coming in really fast. And so I'm going to start with a poem called Drought. The soursop lifts bare branches skyward in supplication for rain. I lift the cigarette to my lips, one cigarette a day until the rains come. A beer can lies in the brush below my veranda, crushed and faded, so long in the sun I cannot read its name. I hardly know my own name. That is how dry it is. When I walk in the driveway, puffs of dust rise with each footfall. All green is gone from the hillside. The bougainvillea valiantly waves a few red blossoms, wounds of color in a wan landscape. So faded, everything is faded. And I am fading too. I would sacrifice myself, dismembered like Osiris. But I lack the ancient faith that even my death would bring the rains or any kind of resurrection. Okay, now I'm going to read a piece, a short prose piece called Hurricane Charm. I usually write prose, by the way. So I'm kind of going out of it on a limb here, reading my poetry. Okay, Hurricane Charm. I seem to have lost my hurricane charm. It's a sterling silver representation of the hurricane symbol on the National Hurricane Center map. I got the charm in 2017 after we had gone through Category 5 storms Irma and Maria on St. Thomas, where we took a blunted, by St. John, direct hit from Irma and a sideswipe from Maria, a sideswipe that shook the house. I first noticed that the charm was missing when I opened the door of a rented Jeep Renegade in a driveway in Asheville, North Carolina. I felt something slither down my chest and into my bra. I yanked up my shirt to see what it was and discovered that the silver serpentine chain I wore around my neck had broken into several pieces. It was one of the pieces that I had felt against my chest, so reptile cold and smooth. When I stepped fully outside the car, another piece fell off of me into the driveway. Immediately, I began searching the pavement, the floorboard, the seat of the car, my clothing, looking anywhere I could imagine the charm having lodged. But it wasn't in any of those places, so I did the only thing one can do when something like this happens. I said a prayer to St. Anthony and started looking online for a replacement in case St. Anthony didn't come through for me this time. A few days later, having given St. Anthony 3 whole days to do the great reveal, and he'd never failed me before, I renewed my search and gave the car the twice over. I emptied both my purses in case the charm had fallen into the gaping maw of one of those. No luck, no charm. I started to go to Amazon.com and order another one, but then I thought, hey, St. Anthony really never has failed me before. Maybe he's still trying to help me, trying to tell me something. Maybe it's time to let go of all the baggage I have accumulated over the months we have lived in a state of hurricane aftermath/recovery. All of the terror, the pain, the frustration, the guilt, the fear, the doubt, the euphoria of those first few weeks afterward when we were all so happy to be alive. The euphoria I keep wanting to feel again, but without going through another storm. And yet, bad as it was, I don't want to let it go. I think I can't let it go. There's still so much to be done to the house. But maybe if I weren't carrying around the weight of all that baggage, I wouldn't feel so tired all the time. If I didn't feel so tired all the time, I could get more done. So why don't I want to let go? Because, in a nutshell, it was one of the most intense experiences I've ever had, presenting me with numerous instances of extreme emotion. And there is a rush in such things, and I like the rush. But perhaps I wouldn't have liked it so much if I, like some of my friends and acquaintances, had lost my roof, my car, my entire house, or even, in the most extreme case, a loved one. Whatever losses we as a community suffered, however, I feel that it brought us out the best in most of us, and that we learned to help and care for one another more deeply, that bonds were forged and it made us stronger, both individually and as a group. That hurricane charm had multiple meanings for me. It was my talisman, my amulet, my protection from a next storm. It was a physical, touchable reminder of the ordeal that we had been through. It was a kind of medal of honor. I didn't go around volunteering to tell about how I went through 2 Cat 5 hurricanes, but I wanted to say something, and this was my way of saying it quietly. I was talking, my body was talking through its ornamentation, words that were often too painful or complex for the mouth to speak. Should my body be silenced? No. Sorry, St. Anthony. I have decided to get another charm. It makes a kind of poetic sense anyway. 2 hurricanes, 2 charms. Maybe by the time I lose the next one, I'll be ready. Okay, so the hurricanes were a big event. So now I have a poem about the hurricanes. It's called The Wasteland Comes to Paradise, with apologies to T.S. Eliot, and it's dedicated to Anne and Anique and all of my fellow survivors. I have a note at the beginning. 1922 was the original publication date of Eliot's poem, The Wasteland, considered one of the most important poems of the 20th century. It was basically Eliot's response to World War I, its devastation, and the resulting disintegration of human cultures. Mine is not quite as ambitious in theme or geography. It speaks to the devastation we Virgin Islanders experienced during and after the hurricanes of 2017. Oh, it's also not as long as The Wasteland. Okay, 1. September is the cruelest month, breeding mosquitoes out of standing pools, mixing memory and desire, stirring a pot of dull wind in the eastern Atlantic, feeding it heat and moisture, Charybdis in the making. Winter kept us cool, covering our beds with a blanket of trade winds, giving us cool showers at pink ends of days, just enough to keep the cistern full. Summer surprised us, a mild one. Klotzbach revised his prediction again. Fewer storms for the Lesser Antilles. We hiked to Santa Maria, dark sand burned our tender feet. We walked into the sea for relief, hauling our sweating bodies along, drank champagne from plastic flutes, and floated for an hour. 2. The roots of the soursop clutch its branches grow out of the stony rubbish. Soon it will die, or the rains will come. The rains will come. You say this, but you know only that heap of broken coral on your side porch, hieroglyphics left by some stormy tide, a reminder of what has been and what will come. The storms will come. Madame Lisa, famous expat, had terrible migraines, nevertheless is known to be clairvoyant, a clear seer, a seer of light. Therefore, we went to her for a reading. First, in the center, the Empress. The earthly paradise, according to Arthur Waite. That is where we live. Here, on my card, hangs the drowned Dominican sailor. You drew the 5 of Cups. Something was lost. Something was found. Someone else, the 3 Pentacles. Preparation in need of doing. Then the 9 of Swords that always comes up in my readings. And at last, the broken tower, decapitated by the storm, bodies falling in the rain, fear death by water. We know what we must do. The broken tree still in the garden, the The chair that Dad says he will fix. The windows still without shutters. The leaky roof, the giant mudslide, those cracks in the earth like pathways to hell, or the lower garden lost to you forever when your land was condemned along with your house as the earth shifted that day. Pregnant with rain, she gave birth. The monsters who have raped her impregnated her with pesticides and other poisons, who have heated her breath to boiling, who sent the drought, and now the storm. The earth was raped. Behold the spawn. 3. My nerves are bad every night. Yes, bad. That is why I want you home. Why I ask you to speak to me, to tell me how you feel. Feel. What are you feeling? What? I never know what you are feeling. I think we ought to watch Better Call Saul or some comedy that will distract us. We've done all that we can to prepare. Now all we can do is wait. Wait. What is that noise? The wind under the door? What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing. Again, nothing. You call the sound of that wind nothing? Do you remember nothing? I remember. 4. Jerry can't bear the wind now. Its smooth, cooling breeze gives him the shakes. Mary still lives in a borrowed room, her books all destroyed in the storm. Shira's steps still cling precariously to the side of her house in Coral Bay. And Anthony's dad is still dead, crushed by the roof that came through the window when he went to the next room to close it, leaving his wife and 2 small children safe in the bathroom, watching his blood pool on the floor, seeping under the door jammed shut. The other Mary escaped on a mercy cruise, yet somehow she came back. People say, how can you live there? Why did you go back? You went 6 months without power? Your hospital still barely functions? 1 psychiatrist for the whole island? My God, that man must be busy. And I say, my brother, my friend, tourists who came for the aftermath, to see our destruction and rubble, look out, not down. Look at that sky, at that pink gilded ocean. No winter, no snow, just most of the year, the bounty of the trade winds. Here is both rock and water. We live on the rock. We bathe in the sea. Some people live on the water. Boats rock them gently to dream of the life they already have until the storms come. So we wait. Damyata. Be right here, right now. The storms will come. I wear those pearls that were his eyes. I place his bones of coral on my altar. And when the thunder speaks, and the wind shrieks, and the rain pours in, may there always be shelter on this red rock. May there always be shelter on this red rock. And that's the end of that long poem. And I think I dropped everything else on the floor, so hang on. Okay, all right. Now I have a poem called Dumpster Dogs. This one is also island related. It's dedicated to my friend Donna Nemeth. I don't know if she's watching, but she is the animal rescuer to beat all animal rescuers. Dumpster dogs. You find them at dumpsters all over St. Thomas. These dogs with no owners or none who will claim them. These dogs, like trash, disposable, no longer wanted. Perhaps a litter of puppies a family could not afford to feed, along with their mother, the bitch who managed to have so many. Her teats hang like empty promises off her chest and shrunken belly. Her ribs a bony barrel, you can count each stave. These bitches don't like people. They run when you approach. Perhaps they have been beaten or simply know they are not wanted even by the folks who feed them. The puppies, innocent of beatings and curses, approach timid then playful. Sometimes they are taken home. Sometimes you're taken home and they have a chance to change their name from dumpster dog to island mutt coconut retriever. Sometimes this happens so fast, they don't even know they were trash. The others, especially the mothers, we don't like to think about. Okay, this poem, Burial at Sea, is for my friend Bonnie Braga. She was listening last night. I don't know if she is tonight, but anyway, Burial at Sea. Fins in hand, I approach the sea to do my duty. A mile a day I've promised the gods of mental and physical health. The sea seems angry today, spitting tight little waves to explode on the shore so it's hard to wade in, even at Megan's Bay. I know this ocean. I watch her waves, her anger waxes and wanes. I know her better than any person of my acquaintance, and I love her most of all, because she does not get angry. That was just a metaphor. But she does accept my anger, my love, my terror. All that I bring her, she washes it far away, out on the receding tide. Its weight would drown me on shore. In the sea it floats away, dissolves like the leaves that fall in and other dead things. There is oblivion in her embrace. There is peace in oblivion. Okay, I got two more. This one is called Sentence to Education. Your name was Diallo. You showed up in my freshman writing class with shoulder-length ringlets all the black girls envied. Sentence to education. That's right. In trouble over some drugs, buying, selling, I'm not sure which. And the judge said, instead of jail, you had to go to school. Diallo was your name. But after a while, I wanted to call you Diablo. Sometimes it just slipped out. We were reading Savage Inequalities, one of John Kozel's books about how poor black kids are treated in America's schools. And you couldn't stand it. Yet you read it in one night. Then every day we discussed it, you would jump up out of your seat and start yelling. You weren't yelling at me, I realize now, but we're giving a voice to all those black kids, both here and on the mainland, so beaten down by the system, just trying to stay alive. You have been beaten down too. I see that now. But you were going down fighting. And my last poem, the only one really that doesn't relate to St. Thomas, music school. A brick house on a hill all but swallowed in ivy. The yard as well, a walkway snaking up the rise, glossy leaves the color of deep, wet summer. Hairy vines curl up my 4-year-old legs, tickle and scratch as we walk to the door. A glossy black front door in the center of the bricks and the ivy opens to admit my mother and I. She has brought me to music school. A tall lady with hair black and lustrous as the front door leads us in through the vestibule. Other children wait, seated in a circle on the floor. Aside from the house and the door, the lady and the circle of children, the only other thing I remember about music school is the way, at the end of every music school day, the lady selected a princess who led us in procession all through the house to an alcove off the dining room, one of those rooms in houses nobody knows what to do with. There the princess sat in a red velvet Queen Anne chair, where the boy who was chosen as prince, kneeling, presented her with a tiara. For the girls, the rhinestones were diamonds. Oh, the thrill, the electricity beneath my skin when that circlet of diamonds crowned my own head. Although I did not care for my prince. But none was ever a real princess outside of music school. Outside of music school, the boys teased and bullied us, pinched us, and tried to pull our dresses over our heads at recess. This was all to prepare us for the days to come, when the physical became sexual, when the bullying became date rape, and Tony got me so drunk that I don't even remember, or I try not to, the night he and his two friends fucked me as if I were a piece of meat. Then they drove me to a third house, carried me to a van, invited its owner to fuck me too, only his penis didn't fit. I do remember the tequila wearing off, how he complained about my cunt and my crying, how it made his dick go limp. These same boys became men who married women, some of whom went to music school, some of whom expected a prince along with a diamond, but got a beast instead. Thank you, everyone. I can't hear anyone.
Yay! Hey!
Yay!
Thank you.
This method, you don't get an audience reaction. Yeah, I'm going to unspotlight you.
Okay.
And I'm going to spotlight me because I am reading next. And all right. It's very interesting going through the manuscript to see. I don't usually do that. I usually just kind of decide as I go, but tonight I was a little more organized. So I'm working on two collections. One is called GIMP, and the other is called Definitions, because a lot of the poems I'm writing are pretend to be definitions, and there's a lot of overlap. There are poems in both collections. So I can't explain to you why these are in the order they're in. They just felt like I wanted to do it that way. But the first one is definitely from the GIMP collection, and it's called Wheels. I depend on them. What did the Inca do before the conquest? Did they carry their disabled up to Machu Picchu on their shoulders, bumping along the rocky trails on travois poles, on litters? I imagine they had people who couldn't walk, who fell off those terrace walls onto stone. There are ancient toys from India, little horses with wheels, but the genius of the Inca did not extend that far. The genius of my culture does not always extend that far. I push my way along, wheels bumping over paving stones and over the edges of badly installed ramps. I stand at the bottom of stairs, growling. After I had my knee repaired, or not repaired, as the case turned out, I spent a couple of stints in a rehab, which was also a nursing home. And this is one of my favorite forms. It's an alphabetic acrostic. So the first line begins with an A, and it runs all the way through the alphabet. And with a little bit of attention, you'll hear which letter I'm on. Otherwise, it has no form, but I really like alphabetic acrostics. It's called Trying to Sleep. All night, beeps of call bells. Never quite dark in the halls, doors wide open. Everyone's asleep except me. I toss, flail, rearrange my sheets, grimace as the woman across the hall calls out, "Help me get up!" again and again. I grope for earplugs, jam them in, know this will go on like last night until she manifests in her doorway, a wobbling apparition in her nightgown. The floor nurse takes her to bed again. Through open doors, I hear their voices. Then peace. She's quiet a while. I try to rest, hope to sleep, but no, soon she'll start again. 10 minutes, 15. Did I sleep? Up the hall at the nursing station, voices, low for a while, then louder. When will someone bring her Xanax? My feet itch from yellow hospital socks. Where is Zen mind when I need it? You see why I love the form. This is much more recent, and I will tell you, since John got alarmed by this, that it all worked out. It's called Brain Scan. In the shadowy image, I recognize my skull, the shape inherited from my father's line. My brain looks like an anatomy drawing done in ink, or soumie of a night forest, the arms of trees reaching into the dark. There is no happy reason to take this selfie, no tourist venue shining under the sun. I did not invite this. Walnut, cauliflower, thundercloud. I am standing at the edge of a cliff, about to lose my footing. I'm going to read a fair number of things that I worked on with the group here, and this is one of them. It's called Adapting. I watch videos of men with big shoulders, showing how they swing from wheelchair to driver's seat like orangutans at home in the jungle. I can't do that, though I work out and I'm vain of my biceps. Someone has a spinal cord injury from a fall or failed surgery. Another has a dropped foot or uses crutches. Another wears a brace. I'm not ready for an electric wheelchair. I use a walker. Or trekking poles I fitted with quad tips so they stand on their own. I look like an alpine hiker. I can stand, but I'm unsteady. How can a law give us all access? Tall, with bad knees, I need high seats, toilets, and beds. Short people and people in wheelchairs need low. Most of us need grab bars, but in different places. Curb cuts and electric doors. Cobblestones are perilous. It's an exercise in adaptation. Riding on my scooter, I hear a driver shout, "Slow down, you'll get a ticket." Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I like that. There's a debate going on. Robert has entered the waiting room. Hi, Robert. There's a debate going on in the handicapped community, or whatever we shall call ourselves, about what we should call ourselves. So this is one of the definition poems, although it will be in both books. It's a noun, the word handicap, and it's in 6 short parts. Noun. 1, once a betting game too complicated to explain here. 2, later, weight added to a champion racehorse to give the less talented a fighting chance. 3, the number of strokes over par for the course considered appropriate for a duffer. At the tee, I consider mine very high and not likely to get any lower. I address the ball and swing. I whiff, hook, or slice. 4, in folk etymology, a crippled soldier on a street corner begging alms with his cap in hand. 5, I'm now rewarded with a special tag for reserved parking spots. The new logo looks like everyone is a Paralympics athlete. 6, in identity politics, some people don't like the term disabled either. I just call myself GIMP, which is the name of the book that this is going to be part of. This is one of the first that I wrote after my encounter with not not just bad, but really bad knee problems. It's called disabled. The world fills with walls. Shadows seem to be gates, are only shadows. A flight of stairs is a wall. The idea of flight does not apply. A curb without a curb cut is a wall. Like the curb on a bridle, it bites. Parking lots are distant destinations without light. Doors resist. All seats are too low. Everyone is gathering upstairs in venues without elevators. Words soar above the street where a woman sits waiting for someone's help. And that's partly in honor of some local poetry series that do not have elevators. There's another one that will probably be in both books. It's called Lines. Again, it is a definition, a noun. It turns out to be in 6 very short sections again. 1, poets worry about where to break them. 2, prompters give you yours when you forget. 3, bed sheets in the wind on a sunny day. 4, Loretta Young's face was a porcelain mask. We admired her on TV. My mother fussed at me even then about the lines in my forehead. 5, the old lady next door had fuzzy cheeks and creases like the ones I have now crossing her lips. Her lipstick crept up into the lines. Did she get them from whistling? 6, the only way to avoid lines is never to use your face for anything. Got about 3 or 4 left. This is called definition, and it is in fact a definition. It will not be, I think, in the GIMP book. It'll only be in the definition book. Again, a noun. I like nouns, although they're not always nouns. And there are 5 little tiny parts. 1, definition. Clarity of outline. The light at dawn limning each edge of building or tree. 2, clarity of meaning. 3, resolution of vision, the details through binoculars or microscope or after putting in eye drops. 4, dictionary entry, including etymology, pronunciation, usages. 5, my wish for certainty amid ambiguity. I'm going to take one out. This is another one from my stint in the rehab. It's called Call Button. Actually, it's more for the hospital, but okay. Call button. In the hospital, if you want something, you have to use the call button. They can't read your mind, and anyway, they're busy. That's true. They're understaffed, so they're always busy. When I go to the hospital, I'm afraid that if I use the call button, I will be seen as a nuisance, or maybe I will be a nuisance. I'm also afraid that no one will respond. And my sense of helplessness in the hospital is exaggerated. No, not exaggerated, because of course it's true. I'm helpless, and I depend on someone responding to the call button. And often enough, well, usually, they do. But it's in the category of soon or later. From my bed, I can hear staff chatting at the nurse's station, the wheels of the nurse's computer carts, call bells ringing. Is one of them mine? The system may be set up so that I can't tell whether anybody has seen the bell light or know whether anyone is coming. When someone does come and goes away to do what I need done, I don't know the outcome. And before there is an outcome, I usually end up pushing the call button again. Two more, and then I'm going to sing you something very short and very old. This is called Vector. And again, it's a noun, 5 parts. It's the only, I think it's the only, yeah, call button is Kafka for today, John, right? Absolutely. This may be the only COVID poem I've written, I'm not sure. I can't say it'll be the last. Vector, 1. Direction, like the flight path of an arrow or poison dart, a mathematical abstraction. 2. Computers were invented to chart the trajectory of artillery. Only later were they used to track money. In computer graphics, vectors calculate a shape. Raster graphics have a space in memory for every pixel, like the retinas of our eyes. 3. The threat is invisible. Not mice and rats, but their fleas. Lice, tick nymphs the size of poppy seeds. Doorknobs and elevator buttons. 5. Half the carriers have no symptoms, like Typhoid Mary defiantly cooking for strangers. They go out in the street, unmasked, insouciant, crowds at the beach in their bikinis, young men elbow to elbow at the bars. 5. The threat is like carbon monoxide. When the air in the house feels fresh, transparent, but the furnace guy says, you could have woke up dead. And actually, this is also a COVID poem. It's called Indoor Cat. That's the indoor cat. She sits in the window, tail twitching as birds and bugs orbit outside. Sometimes she sleeps. I feel the same, watching spring come in a world of invisible threat, wanting to go out. My intrepid hunter once came down the hall, tossing a dead mouse into the air. I have no idea where she got it. Her imprisonment is my fault, but keeps her safe from dogs, coyotes, poisons, other cats. Saves the birds, too. And I want to sing you a little something that owes a lot to Helen, because this is from a book that Helen published way back in 1978, if you can imagine such a thing, although I didn't set the music to it until quite a bit later. The book is called Mothering, and the character is a sort of idealized lover and father figure at the same time. She sees him walking toward her across the seafloor, slow motion. The light is blue and shifting. It falls in curtains and rays. There are fish all around, swimming between them like stars, blue and striped and shiny. He walks like a robot. If he holds her, she will feel his engine running. She can feel nuts and bolts holding his elbows together. She says, deep sea diver, I love you, with your silence, with your dark blue movements, with the world floating away, with birth and death in one place. Thank you. And Leslie is our next and last. Leslie is the last reader of this year's retreat, although we're going to continue meeting for another couple of days.
Hello,
Hello.
happy to see you all here. I'm going to be reading mostly things that we worked on over the last few days. But I want to start off with a couple of poems from my book, Losing Tara, An Alzheimer's Journey, which came out of a group a manuscript workshop that I did here 2 years ago with Nola Garrett and Judy Kerman. And they helped me refine a big pile of poems into a book. These two poems are favorites of a poet friend of mine, so I decided I would read them. Missing. Someone put handfuls of dog kibbles on the kitchen floor while you weren't watching. It wasn't her, she'll insist. Someone dropped a whole roll of toilet paper into the toilet, twice this week. By now, you don't even miss seeing her at the computer writing until midnight. You don't remember her smile when you came home. Or if you do, it's like something that happened before you were born, dimly recalled from a previous life. You don't miss her bringing you another glass of champagne and saying, "Not yet, wait until the dogs have gone to sleep." You don't miss her driving for hours, smiling the whole time, knowing the seashore is at the end of the road. But it bothers you when she refuses to take off her gloves indoors, puts one coat on over another, doesn't notice the piss in her diapers, the way she fumbles trying to leash the dogs, to unlock the door, to put on her shoes. It's okay, you tell her, we're old, we all need help. She falls asleep quickly and lies snoring like an idling truck. You keep earplugs beside the bed. Making love in the afternoon. I can remember the naked woman wanting to be in my arms, but it's a faint memory, like the night the Brooklyn Dodgers won the series. Going over the edge of a waterfall in a barrel, touches powered by someone else's excitement. Is losing everything the true outline of life? Today I was removing a diaper, washing sheets in hot water. What will happen tomorrow? Forgetting my own name? Will I forget how to write as she did? Lose my dogs, my friends? As for that naked woman, she is a myth, a distant vision halfway to the moon. This is a little collection that I wrote some years ago, but I brought it in and had it pruned and refined by my group mates. Thank you very much. My dreams. I dreamed I was a fish in the middle of the ocean. I was lost. I dreamed I was having sex with Hillary Clinton. She kept asking me to vote for her. I said no. She said, "Thank God," and kissed me where it counted. I dreamed the police came to my door. They asked me where to find me. I said I didn't know. I dreamed I went for a ride on a magic flying carpet. I didn't fall off, but when it landed, I didn't know where I was. I dreamed I was playing baseball with a rubber bat, wearing my pajamas. I hit a home run. The crowd laughed. I dreamed I paid up for a year at the gym and never went back. The joke was on them. I dreamed that mankind put an end to war. We held a big convention and argued about what to do next. Things got bloody right away. I dreamed the flying saucer landed in my backyard. They wouldn't let me go with them. I dreamed I was boxing with Muhammad Ali. I couldn't hit him. I couldn't kick him. I tried shooting him, but I missed. I dreamed I flew to London first class. It was so much fun, I flew right back. I dreamed there was a scary monster underneath my bed. I said, "Go away." It said, "Don't hit me." I dreamed I went to the hospital to visit a friend who died last year. He was sitting in bed, laughing. The joke was on me. I dreamed a wolf came to my door. She was collecting for the Red Cross. I gave her a blanket and a can of soup. Now I'm cold and hungry. I dreamed I was watching my favorite TV show. When I woke up, I couldn't remember which one it was. The joke was on me. I dreamed I went to hear my favorite sax player. I was a little late. By the time I got there, he had run out of ideas and was playing the same two notes, back and forth, back and forth. They were great notes, though. I dreamed my radio starting at me. I reported it to the FCC. They told me to go fuck myself. I dreamed it was dark and I was scared, so I turned on all my lights. The doorbell rang. It was Al Gore. He started bitching at me for wasting all that power. I made him a sandwich and he calmed down. The joke was on him. I dreamed my DVR decided to record only programs it liked. I got tired of Judge Judy real fast. I dreamed I read a book about politics. It was so good I voted for it. I dreamed my car got lost going the wrong way down a one-way street and couldn't find her way home. I kept telling her, turn, turn, but she wouldn't listen. I dreamed George Bush came over for dinner. He left Laura home. He ate with his fingers. He told dirty jokes that weren't even funny. When he left, he stole the silverware. The joke was on me. I dreamed Bob Dylan was singing in Swahili. I still couldn't understand him. I dreamed my dog learned to talk. She answered all my problems, then told me to give her more food. I dreamed I wrote a long poem. Halfway through, I realized there was no ink in the pen. The joke was on me. These are more recent. Shivering. Warmer than usual for a January day. Inside, it's comfortable and my worn cashmere sweater still performs its duties well. But the sight of swaying branches, the noise of the wind, cause me to shiver. Remind me of last night's dream. I was naked, drifting in space, watching distant stars careen in senseless patterns. Glad to show me their light, they refused heat. They sang in gruff voices, soon all warmth will abandon you. There is no way to prepare, no garments to protect you, no love that can penetrate the void. Outside the realms. Outside the realms of air and gravity, that's where the real work gets done. No doctor's pills ever cure anything that really matters. True healing takes place outside the realms of air and gravity. The frequencies that pass between lovers disregard the limits of scientific measurement. They are ignorant of the laws of air and gravity. Our foods cannot be found in cans, boxes, bags, in any stores. They may come in bulk, but the scoops have too many holes to hold anything very tangible. There is more nourishment in a cloud, which exists outside the realms of air and gravity. The ancient past. I awoke this morning thinking of garbage disposal in ancient Rome. They had no cardboard cartons, clamshell packages, last year's TVs and computers and cell phones. Just a few old bones the dog had finished with and some worn out chariot parts. Everything was handmade. It's in museums now. Most oil was still where it belongs. The air was sweet except near a burning house. A horrible life to be a slave, but at least they got enough to eat. All the food was organic. Only the rich could be fat. At 66, I would have been very old if anyone had been keeping track. Too many wars even then, but a soldier could kill only one at a time. Politicians had to talk very loud or no one could hear them. I would have had not enough, or perhaps barely enough, never too much. That was only for the rich. The sky was so dark at night, if it wasn't cloudy, they could see all the stars. This next one, which dates back a couple of years, won for me the title of Slam Poetry Champion of Ulster County, a title I believe I still hold because I don't think there's been another contest since then. Of course, there were only 8 people in the contest, but what the hell. Mitch, a turtle crawling stealthily through the forests of DC, stopping occasionally to spit fire at the trees which shelter him. Mitch feasts on caviar and beer, his chosen prizes of triumph. He moves like a turtle, slow, slow. How the hell does he stay in power? All he knows how to do is sit on things and squash them. The only word he knows is no. If someone needs help, poor, sick, all he says is no. Cancer? No. When Mitch is in the newspaper, it turns brown and crumbles to ashes. The first time I saw him on the TV news, he created such a powerful vacuum that the screen shattered. That time it was amazing. Now it's just expensive. Seeing Mitch is like going to a batting park, except at the batting park, the machine always throws the same ball at you. Mitch keeps throwing at me, but it's never the same thing. Something mysterious and shiny, then a bucket of wet sponges, a bleeding elbow, and there I am with a wiffle bat that can't fend off his fusillades. Someone else must be pitching for Mitch. He's too laid back to be hurling all this artillery at me. He's hiding behind a huge watermelon rind like the Wizard of Oz at a disco. Such fury behind all that mumbling, so much cowardice as he tries to yank out my heart and dump it into some corporation's lockbox. Mitch, Mitch, you son of a bitch. You know the devil's coming for you and you won't have any place to hide. Summer green. In the yard, most things are green today. Even the brown tree trunks lead to green. A few green stalks end in bright colors. It takes a lot of study to know the names of all those plants, but none to enjoy their shapes and colors. They surround me like a quilt. Inside the house, the sights are uninspiring. The warm gray of the walk, the dull dark gray of the stone floor, the bland off-white of plaster walls, all have nothing to tell me. I don't like being forced indoors in winter while outside the green is buried in white. Now I feel alive, nourished by green and the dazzling blue of the vacant sky. Outside at night. When I go outside with my dog Winnie for her final exploration of the day, my bright LED headlamp reveals the shapes of things, although not their colors. As long as I pay attention, I don't bang into a tree or trip over a rock. But the dark makes little difference to Winnie, who rushes from place to place, alert to scent trails that evade me, to miracles of teeming life which I rarely notice, even by daylight. Now I've got a couple of my cynical psalms. Last year, I started writing modern psalms inspired by a poet named Dan Proper, and I've been finding them a lot of fun to write. Psalm of Rock. O Lord, you know those who set their vicious nets in which to snare me, to rock me back and forth until I fall at their feet. But, O Lord, thou art my rock and my refuge. So help me out here. Protect me from their entrapments and fill their nets with rocks. Oh Lord, I know your sense of humor. You'd have fun letting them think they have me helpless while I am roaming free, showing their wives and mistresses how a man beloved of the Lord makes love. They will never settle again for feeble old men. And when it's time for my presumed captors to feed me their sour milk and moldy potatoes, they will discover their captives are only useless stones. And then, O Lord, as they release those rocks in disgust, have them roll down a hill and crush the evil one's hummers beyond recognition. Wump bop a loop bop a wop bam boom. Psalm of Fire. Quote, you will make them turn tail by shooting your arrows in their faces. Psalm 21, Jerusalem Bible. Glory unto the bravery of our firefighters, for the Lord hath declared that by fire shall he destroy his enemies, along with their children, descendants, and all who cooperate with them wittingly or unwittingly in their evil deeds. Yet here we have our noble volunteers who rush ignorantly into the task of saving screaming children and unconscious adults. It is so dangerous an occupation because its practitioners cannot tell the difference between flames of accident and flames of the wrath of the Lord, determined to destroy his enemies who prevent their king from setting a crown of pure gold upon his head. Now we know why even the best intentioned rescuers may sometimes wind up with an arrow in the face for their troubles. Psalm of Just Deserts. I realize it served me right, O Lord, when you finally let me down. I was being an arrogant prick. See, I cried unto my enemies, those who feel they are entitled to earn more money by the hour than I do. See, it is I who have the Lord's favor. My clients praise my work and pay me bonuses while you losers eat mud. That was the wrong thing to say. Suddenly I found myself submerged, unable to move, to breathe, my arms immobilized, mud up my nose. My hair as filthy as my dog when she comes home from rolling in the rain. With all that mud in my throat, I couldn't even give voice to my prayers. But you, O Lord, hear my innermost thoughts. God help me, I yearned to cry out in despair. You heard me anyway and decided to give me a break, especially since you didn't like the way my inferiors, that's almost everyone, were gloating. Next thing they knew, you had extracted me from the pit, and there I was, rinsing myself off in the car wash, oblivious to the steam, while the champagne they were celebrating with turned into Bud Light seltzer. Well, Lord, I think you have finally succeeded in teaching me what I need to learn. Do unto others only what I can get away with. Don't write nerdy words on walls if I can't spell. Let my lack of regard for my fellow man be tempered by the realization that as bad as they are, I may not be doing as much better as I like to think. This is a batch of tiny poems that I wrote one day in April a couple of years ago. And we went through all of these. So this series is called A Day in April. Running away. This desire for escape is like bursting out of a lake in a frenzy for breath. But at this age, I can no longer run. Her eyes. When I look into her eyes, I see a mystery. Her former clarity is only a memory, her life, not even that. Tenderness. I feel the way your skin still responds to my touch, even though you can't talk anymore. Bed. I sleep these days in an extravagant bed built for two, now holding only one. Today. Today is a day of wonders. I am noticing the height of trees, the crisp clarity of air, the intensity of blue sky, my dog snoring. Time. It's escape time today. Time to quit paying attention to bills, traffic, hunger, to float gently up to the clouds. Paper. Every time I print something I don't need to keep, I use the other side to print something else. I wonder what they say to each other. Preparing. I'd better go through these boxes of papers and recycle the ones nobody needs instead of leaving them for my children to wade through. Lemons. Lemons look so appealing. I wish I liked their taste. That's okay, they tell me. You can just look at us. Too bad you're not Cézanne. Violinist. It would take a lifetime of study to learn to play you as beautifully as you play the violin. Individuality. If I'm so different from everyone else, how come my shoes fit? Eyelids. Despite my determination to get all these things done today, my eyelids keep closing. Oblivion. None of us is getting out of here alive, but I can only be concerned with myself. I want to leave as soft as a baby's ass. And since I've had so much cynicism today, I'm going to conclude with a love poem. It's called Meeting. A warm Sunday afternoon, outside on my gentle bench, pulsing telephone in my hand, talking with the liquid voice of a woman I did not know. I became more awake than usual. She told me how she felt after her husband died, and I shared how I felt after my wife died. I recognized her voice, although I hadn't heard it before, but she described how we'd met once decades ago. That mild southern lilt like a summer breeze. Someone from my past, I thought. Talking wasn't enough. We needed to see each other's faces. She got into her car while I cooked our first dinner. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
That was lovely, Leslie.
Yeah, awesome.
That was great.
Yay, it was great.
Yeah. I like that your cynicism is also funny. Well, to me, maybe I have a sick mind.
No, I thought it was funny too. Yeah.
You have a sick mind too.
We knew that.
Yes. Leslie and you and I, yeah.
Judy, you've really allowed your recent troubles to produce some really, really strong, identifiable pieces.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, agree.
absolutely.
There are people who have to unmute. There are people who have to unmute themselves, and other people I am able to unmute. I think I've got everybody that I can get.
Penny,
Well,
John?
What'd you say,
We've been
Joyce?
noticed, we
Checking the other-
around here have been noticing these developments in Judy's work.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask if you think GIMP is a good title.
Why?
Well, it might be offensive to people not as hip as you are.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought of that too, but
somebody else has a book called Crip, which
That's
is not
true.
my vocabulary.
that's true.
I wouldn't use it to address anybody else.
We got a comment from Guy Reed who said we looked terrific on YouTube.
Yay.
Yeah, some people lie. They're called poets.
Well, this is on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm going to leave them up. I don't know how long the Facebook stuff will stay put, but the YouTube stuff will be in the channel, as they say. Actually, I think the Facebook stuff will be too. It's just people have to go look for it.
Right.
One YouTube reading I couldn't access.
Really?
it says that it has to be enabled, that it was disabled by the owner or something.
I'm going to take a look, tomorrow afternoon and see where everything is. There are things that I do not understand. Well, there was one that you couldn't because it was a little tiny scrap at the beginning and I deleted it. But all the readings should be up there.
Okay.
They were this afternoon.
Yeah. The only thing I took off was that little
I was
scrap.
looking at them this afternoon and there was one that I couldn't. Then I got it on the Facebook page.
Was it a reading or was it just the little short?
It was a reading.
Oh, no kidding. I will look because
I'll try again and I'll send you a screenshot of what it says.
yeah. But Joyce, you were able to see all three of them?
Yeah. At least for a while, who knows?
I never took the long ones off.
Hmm.
I didn't do anything to the full reading.
Hmm.
But I'll look.
Yep.
There's still a lot of mystery to this.
Yeah.
Thank
Could
God.
have shown this, I think.
What would we have done without it?
Leanna wants to say something, if you don't mind.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Leanna.
Home from this, and she would say, "Oh, I wish you could hear the readings. I wish you could hear. You would love them. You would love them." And so this year, because you did it in this format, I was able to hear the readings. So I enjoyed every one of them. And talk about powerful. Some nights I was left speechless, and I'm the type of person that has to mull things over for a few days. So 3 days from now, I'll say, "Do you remember?" So thank you all very much for sharing that. It was great.
Good.
Thanks for
Thank you.
listening.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, we've actually had an audience. Hi, Guy, Bonnie, and our friend Rebecca was here for a while. And
Yeah, Leslie, you started to say something about your book. You showed the cover, but I'm muted.
Yeah.
he's
This
holding
is
it
a
up.
book of poems that all deal with
That's lovely.
experiences with my wife's illness. And it's available. It's on Amazon.
Okay. They are some of your very best poems, Leslie.
Yeah, I
Really
agree.
good revisions. Really good
Yeah,
revisions.
the ones about terror are really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Thank you.
And her poems in there are nice too.
Yeah.
Will you put her poems in?
There
Oh,
are a few, yeah.
wow.
Some of them she dictated
Well,
after she wrote
Nice.
it.
Well, isn't that what Rothke did with his sister or something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think when we toured the house, they said that she really was the typist and the creator of how they looked on the page. Because I remember going, well, then who is the real poet? You know? She's the transcriber.
Actually-
More than that.
Actually, the poems of Tara at the end of this book were all dictated after she had lost the ability to write words on paper.
That's
Well, I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to stop the